Hello, everyone. This is Betsy Wurzel, your host of Chatting with Betsy on Passionate World Talk Radio Network, a subsidiary of Global Media Network, LLC. Our mantra is to educate, enlighten, and entertain. The views of the guests may not represent those of the host of the station. Folks, I'm always excited when I do my show, as you could always tell. And today I have a special guest with me. His name is Rick Lite. It's spelled Ricklite, and he is founder of Stress Free Marketing, whose motto is the voice above the noise. And he is also co-owner with his wife, Lori, of Stress Free Kids Marketing.com. And I'll tell you what, folks, I went on that website, and if I had a young child, I would definitely be buying some of those books. The website will be in the blog. Looks very, very interesting, and a lot of interesting topics for children. And with Rick Lite, he is a seasoned sales and marketing professional with over 20 years' experience in the book industry. Rick's experience comes from tirelessly working on new and innovative ways to promote books. And he's going to tell us about what he does and how he helps authors and writers, and how, as you're an author and writer, how you can market yourself and to contact Rick and his company. I've interviewed quite a few of Rick Lite's clients, and they were very interesting. So I want to welcome you, Rick Lite, to Chatting with Betsy.
Thank you so much, Betsy. It's nice to be here.
Well, it is nice to have you here. And I have to ask, because it's so interesting to meet, to finally meet people that are the head of people that I have interviewed. How did you start your company?
Right. So Stress-Free Book Marketing was started about 12, 13 years ago. And it really was a culmination of my experience in helping my wife, Lori, as you mentioned before, and her book publishing, children's book publishing company called Stress Free Kids. Stress Free Kids helps children with anxiety, with anger, with self-esteem, and Lori was a pioneer in that industry, and she created stories that use traditional self-calming, self-soothing methods for stress management, but she wove them into stories. And I was between jobs. Lori asked me if I would help her for a month or so. And 20-plus years later, here I am. So I just fell in love with the industry. I fell in love with the self-publishing world and the traditional publishing world. And what I really fell in love with was the marketing side, because that was tough. That was very difficult to get books and CDs and lesson plans out to educators and parents and homeschoolers and other people. And I took all the skills that I learned in helping Lori, and I founded and started a marketing agency to help other authors hopefully get the same success that we got and the same experience and results. So Stress-Free Book Marketing has been around for a while, and we have the privilege of helping writers and mostly independent authors get started, get their books out there, get them self-published, edited, created, cover design, all the way through the marketing and promotional cycles of what we do. So it's super exciting, and I feel very honored to be part of this industry.
Well, that sounds very interesting, Rick. As you know, I've talked to many different types of authors and writers from all kinds of different genres. And the one thing that stands out from my experience is authors saying, wow, it's really hard to sell our book. It's hard to get it out there on the market. And if they were to go to you and contact you, could you help them with that? Or do they have to start with you from the beginning of when they are writing their book?
No, authors can come to us at any point. It's always nice if they come to us to help create the book, but there's a lot of people out there that do that. For instance, we're on the Ingram Spark website under marketing experts, and we get referred to a lot of Ingram's authors and publishers. And a lot of people come to us after their book is already published and out. And the challenge with that is you've missed the whole pre-sales, the pre-publishing time period where you could build up the momentum for the book. The idea is to have momentum going into the launch of the book to build up as much excitement, to get as many advanced reader copies out there to bloggers and industry reviewers, to get a street team ready, people that are ready to help you to launch it. And then when the publishing date comes around, like the traditional publishers do, when the publishing date comes around, you're at full stride already. You're running through that marketing process. We'll take people at any point as long as they are behind their project, as long as their books are properly edited and written well, as long as they are looking to really take on and understand what's involved in the marketing side of book promotion. I try to help everybody. So to be fair, I can't work with everybody, but anybody that comes to us or contacts us, we will help in whatever way we can.
I think that's very important what you just mentioned, Rick, about having that marketing before the book comes out.
Yeah.
Sending copies out. I think it's important. I mean, I never wrote a book, but if I were to write a book, I definitely would want to go to someone who can help me with every aspect, which seems like your company does. You know, helping me with the book cover, editing, and marketing, because I find, and speaking to different individuals, that they had the difficulty with marketing. Oh, I can't get my book out there. And I don't know much about marketing. I'm not a business person, so I would ask, well, do you promote your book? You have to promote your book. It's not going to sell itself. And do you find that you have come across clients like that? Like they think that they don't get it. They don't understand the marketing process.
Not recently, but there was a time period that people just felt like just putting the book out there would automatically get them exposure and the clients that they needed. But I think most of the people that we speak to now are under the understanding that there has to be work on into it. They're just not sure what to do, and they don't have the right expectations. I mean, book marketing and book promotion is going to take years to develop. And what I mean by that is, yes, before the book's out and in the first 6 months of the book's release, you're doing the heavy lifting. But then after that, you still need to work on promoting the book. You need to try different things. You need to get involved in different organizations. You need to try book clubs and reading groups and book fairs and submit to blogger reviews. You need to get out there and get into schools and private schools to do children readings. Whatever it takes, whatever genre you're in, and knowing your audience, obviously, you need to get out there over a period of time and be prepared to keep the plate spinning. I mean, if you think of the juggler in the circus that is spinning plates, and they have 4 or 5 or 6 or 7 plates going, you've got to keep those plates constantly going. But with authors, you have to have 1 or 2 things going at all times. And if you do that, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, go ahead.
I was going to say, if you do that, you you have a sense of accomplishment. You don't get overwhelmed. Your marketing and promotional strategies are stress-free, which is kind of like the whole idea of this. It's supposed to be fun. It's supposed to be exciting to publish a book and put it out there. It's not supposed to be stressful. But if you're doing it a certain way and you realize that it's going to take a while and you have a plan and you're working with the right people, then you will experience success. It's very rare that somebody launches a book, gets 500 reader reviews in the first month or so, gets asked by traditional publishers to buy the rights of their books and then want to make them into a Netflix movie. I mean, that doesn't happen all the time. It does happen, but it's hard work, it's grassroots work, but when you do the work, Betsy, you put yourself in the conversation of good things happening. And that's the whole idea.
Yes.
Is having the right expectations, being in the game, keeping at it, believing in that, continuing to write if that's the goal, and good things will happen.
Oh, I love our conversation, Rick, because I have told people, I liked how you mentioned about going to schools. I had talked to a children's author a while back, and I said, you know what, you should really consider giving out your book to the preschools in your area. And that's, word of mouth. He might have thought I was a little cuckoo, but you know what? I think that's a great way to promote your book. I even told people, have you thought about book fairs? So I'm glad that some of my ideas align with yours when I talk to different people. Have you come to, or have the clients have come to you and say, well, how can I be a #1 bestseller? Like, when does that happen? Because I'm sure the market is very competitive.
Yeah, I do have people that when they send me the form, especially people coming from Ingram, because there's a brief form that they fill out, and when I see that their goals are to leave their job and be a full-time writer, or they want to make tons of money and be the Amazon's bestseller, New York Times bestseller, there has to be a conversation about expectations. Now, I never ever want to rain on somebody's parade or be a negative Nelly or anything like that. I just want them to have the information of what it would take to even be considered like that. There's obviously certain criteria to be a bestseller, and it's a lot of sales in a short period of time. But if they want to make money, if they want to make a writing career out of it, there's a certain formula that they're going to have to follow. And usually what happens is when we have that conversation, their goals kind of morph a little bit and they become a little bit more realistic. So again, I'm working with indie authors. Most indie authors know that it's very, very challenging to be a bestseller, to have those accolades with their indie book, especially if they're a new writer. So I'm not coming across a lot of people that have that experience or know of somebody that does, but expectations are key in that. But again, if somebody's doing certain things, they could get to the point where maybe it's not this book or their next book or their 7th book, but maybe their 8th book is a bestseller because they have built up a huge audience. They have great accolades for the book. Their book reviews, book awards, tons of sales. They're out there speaking. They're promoting it on social media. They're doing all the right things, and the 7th or 8th book hits. You never know. You never know.
Yeah, you're right. I would think that writers that you have to have your dreams. That's true, but you also have to have expectations. Your book may not become a bestseller the first time around, and it takes time. and it takes a while. Look at J.K. Rowling. How many times was she rejected before someone took her seriously? And I'm curious myself, so I'll ask you this question, Rick. How does someone become a bestseller? What does that take?
Well, it depends on where your platform is. If you're looking at like a New York Times bestseller, I'd have to probably get the more current specifications on what that would take. But it's a tremendous amount of books sold in a period of time. And same thing with other prominent places. And I think, it was something like 5,000 to 15,000 copies sold in a week to be like to be considered a New York Times bestseller. I mean, it was something that most of the people I would work with would probably not get there. I mean, I try to get several of my clients onto best-selling lists on Goodreads and places like that, but you need a lot of luck. You need a great business plan. You need tremendous amount of forward thinking and planning, because again, if you're an indie author and you're contacting us saying, I released my book December 15th so I can get Christmas sales, well, that person's probably not going to be aligned to do much there. But there's small little things that people can do, especially authors and writers that are coming out with multiple books. Every time you produce a new book, you're learning and you're growing and you're evolving and you're learning how to put it out in a shorter period of time, or put it out in a way that you have a bigger ramp-up time to get to introduce the book before it's actually published. I mean, that's what the traditional publishers do. It's 6 months or a year ahead of time. The book's available online. You just can't get it yet because it's in pre-sales. It's pre-published. So, it's again, you never want to rain on somebody's dreams, and I don't want to be viewed in any way as somebody that is a glass of cold water. But there's a lot that goes into it. Now there used to be, I don't know if you remember this or spoke to people about this, but there used to be this strategy years ago that we can get you to the number one position on Amazon based on sales. So what they do is they'd get everybody to buy a book on one day. They'd get hundreds of people that they had in their network that would buy a book on the same day, which would, the algorithms of Amazon would take that book's ranking up to 10, 15, 100, whatever it was, number one ranking on overall books, and they'd say, see, you're the number one book on Amazon. But the problem with that is a very short-lived strategy. The next day you're in 100,000. The day after that you're back to 600,000, and then you're not even seeing it anymore. So those things, those strategies, those gimmicks, I never really liked. I just felt like I would rather spend my time building up a solid foundation for an author and build out that author platform so that we can see sales increase every month, even if it was, by 3 or 5 or 10 books a month, but each book would be more, each month would be more and more sales. I'd rather see that than somebody shooting to the top and then dropping as quick.
Yeah, I can understand that. So, Rick, can you explain the process of I'm a writer, and I want to write a book in the process, and I connect with you, and you help with like the book cover, marketing, and your company, I know because I interview your clients. So you book your clients on different podcasts, different forms of social media.
Correct. We try to give our clients exposure and be able to create content on a variety of different platforms. So podcasts would be one of them. We'll take the podcast episode, we'll edit it for some folks, we'll pull out some clips, some of the best clips, or create some Q&As so that we can add it to their website or their social platforms. But we also help clients with social media to understand the landscape, to not be afraid of using it, to focus in on one or two platforms and be able to build up a following, to engage other authors or other people out there that would be great target audience for their book, and just to build a presence so that if somebody was doing a search for the book or the author or a book within a specific genre, that they have a shot at showing up.
That sounds good, yeah.
And podcasts
I like
yours are certainly one of them.
And do people have, do you have different lengths of time where people can have a contract with you?
Yeah, most of the people that we work with we're working with on we have different marketing programs, but if we're working on one that's kind of a fixed program for an indie author, we're working with people for 3 to 5 months. We have other ones that are smaller engagements. We can also work on individual strategies that take less time, but on average, we're working with people for that amount of time. We're holding each other accountable for the process. So, we don't bill them a big chunk up front or all the money up front like some places do. We kind of break that up into the time that we're working with them so that they can see what's going on. They could see the results of the work that we're doing. And if we work together and they have skin in the game and they're doing the right things and we're guiding them with that and we're doing our thing and we're letting them know what we're doing, then it makes for a really successful engagement. And a lot of people that we work with for that period of time will also then sign on for month-to-month services for us to continue the work we're doing because they're seeing the results and they like what we're doing. So we'll kind of adjust the pricing to make it affordable, and we're obviously not doing as much as we were in the very beginning of that relationship. So now that we're kind of, I don't want to call it a maintenance mode, but now that we're in a less frantic mode of getting the book out there, we can work with them on different strategies that keep those plates spinning and keep them being exposed to different things.
That sounds great. Now, this might sound like a weird question, but are you the same as a publicist?
No, because we're not trying to get people on network television shows, radio shows, or newspaper articles per se. We do some of the same as a publicist would, but there are certain organizations that's all they do. But I don't know how many of them work with indie authors, especially first-time or first and second-time authors. They want to know that they're getting somebody that is extremely marketable and somebody that they can get interviews for that could fly up to New York to do a radio show or something along those lines. So we're more in the trenches, getting validation for the writing through industry reviews, blog reviewers, reader reviewers. We've got a lot of book clubs and reading groups that we work with who are clamoring for new material. So we'll send them the books for our clients, and they're going to purchase the books on Amazon to get verified. They're going to write honest reviews on Amazon and other places to get the validation for the writing done, that platform done. And then we can work on different strategies of driving the readers to the books, either online or specialty shops or bookstores if we're fortunate enough to get that. So
that sounds exciting.
Yeah, well, it is. I mean, I love what I do, and you know, I don't really promote stress-free book marketing as self-publishing, but at any given month, you know, maybe 30% of our clients we're creating books from the scratch. We're arranging editing, we're arranging for cover design, interior design, putting all the metadata together, getting them up on Ingram and KDP or BookBaby in some cases, setting them up properly and thoroughly so that when that book launches, everything is perfect. And then we could start working on the marketing side well in advance of the publishing date.
That sounds great. I'll tell you, if I was listening to the show and I was a writer, I would have to look you up, Rick.
Thank you.
I would have to connect with you because, you know, I hear from people that I talk to all the time, as I was telling you before we recorded. And one of the hardest things I think that's difficult, especially for a new writer, is marketing themselves. They do not know how to do it.
Yeah.
They don't know how to promote their book. They don't know how to promote a show that they're on. And I think that they just, you know, need guidance. And, you know, I personally sometimes am baffled that someone's on my show and they don't even reply to getting their link to their interview, or they don't share the show. And then I'm thinking, well, you know, this is my advice, folks, for anyone. If you're on anyone's show, not just mine, anyone's show, the proper etiquette, and I even wrote this on LinkedIn for tips for guests, is to reply to the email, say thank you, and share the show. Because how do you expect to sell your book or your business, whatever you're selling, if you do not hustle it yourself?
Yeah, that's great. That is great advice for anybody. I mean, that's really what social media is for. If you think of it, social media is not getting people to like your stuff and share your stuff. It's for you to do it to other people. It's for you to help other people grow their businesses or get exposure to their book or their service, because then it will naturally come back to you. They will then share your content. So first thing people should be doing is sharing your show, preferably even before they're on. But if they don't do it beforehand, they certainly should be sharing the show and thanking you and putting a link to the show in their post and getting their friends to share it and maybe tagging you in it so that you get notified that they shared it, and then you can share it again to your network, and now they get exposure to even more people. I mean, those are the things that some people just don't know. They're not familiar with it. They're just keeping their head above water in their daily life and daily job. But if they have somebody that can give them that advice, and that's great advice, and I want to make sure that my authors are all sharing your show, and if they haven't, that they go back now in the next week or so and they share your show and thank you for being on. Because yes, common courtesy, but just smarts. I mean, free advertisement should be rewarded with minimally a thank you, but it should also be rewarded with a share and other things as well.
Oh, thank you, Rick. I appreciate that, because it's like, and I talked to other, podcasters, and so I'm not the only one. And you you wonder. And then some of the things, I had one guest. She wasn't your client. She's independent on her own, and she actually, I have to laugh because she actually said, well, I don't know if being on your show will make a difference in selling my book. I said, well, are you promoting your book? Are you promoting your book on social media? Are you on Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook?
Yeah.
I said, you can't expect to be on one show and that's it. You have to do the work. And I don't know if people understand that it's constant. Right, Rick? You constantly have to be promoting your book, whether it's already out there or for pre-sale. You have to constantly be doing it, or people won't know about you. I mean, that's just the way it is. My show, I do have a whole lot of various people coming on, but Passion World Talk Radio Network, and what people don't realize is that we're heard in over 170 countries. You never know who's listening.
Absolutely.
And excuse me, and that's why it's important to share the show. And I tell people also as a tip to do your homework before you come on a show. Do you suggest that to your clients, like to look up the host, listen to their show? Maybe it's not a fit for them. And that's okay.
Yeah, no, everybody gets the links to, I believe you're on all the platforms out there, if I recall, and look up the show, listen to some episodes, hear what kind of questions the host is asking, have your think about things and how you want to articulate some of the questions and some of the answers that you have. So, there's some things that people can't do, and there's some podcast hosts that give people questions that they're going to ask, and they give them a heads up on that, and you still might have people that aren't prepared for that. So you just want to make it a good show for not just the host and yourself, but also the listeners. I mean, people have to be intrigued and listening for this, because this is why people do it. They do it to help other people. So it's part of it's almost like a duty to the podcaster, and the industry, that if you're a writer, you should be attending writing classes. You should be trying to get to be a better writer. If you're podcaster, or if you're marketing yourself on podcast, then you really need to know everything about that show you're going on. Social media, same thing. Who are your target audience? Who are the people that you're following? What can you do to help them out? It's such a instant gratification world that we live in, that if people don't see, well, he didn't like me back, I should unlike him. No. That's not the way it works. You have to want to help, people. It's not for your gain, So it's just expectations and getting the right people, getting in front of the right people that will give you good advice, people that there's a lot of information, as you know, Betsy, out there. And you mentioned our little tagline, the voice above the noise. I mean, there's a lot of noise out there, and how you digest that information and the action you take after that could be the difference between giving up because you've spent all this money on the wrong things, or having success because you've done the right things and you've taken your time and have surrounded yourself with the right people.
Absolutely. I tell, I've mentioned in interviews with people, or actually before or after I talk to someone, that I'm unique in where I do informal conversational interviews. And what I like, Rick, is, like I listen to other people's shows, and especially if I'm going to interview that person, and it's like you hear the same thing in every interview. I want to hear, me personally, I want to hear, like, I don't want to be like, press a button and you spew out the same thing. I want to hear, why did you write this book? And why should someone pick it up? Like, make yourself interesting so people want to pick up your book. And if you sound robotic in answering, they may not be inclined to pick up the book. So I like to try to bring out something new in people when they come on my show. I don't know if I do that or not, but I just like to know about the author. Like what makes them tick, what motivated them to write that book. And I'll tell you, Rick, since interviewing many, many different people over the years, I really admire writers. I really have a new appreciation for them and for people like you who help the writers and authors get their books out there, because the research, some of these books, as you know, could take years to write with the research. And, we just take it for granted when we pick up a book. But the work that goes in it is just, it boggles my mind. And, behind the scenes of the, marketing and, editing the book, there's a lot of work that goes into creating a book. And I just tip my hat off to all the writers out there and all the people that help them, because it must be a tough market. Excuse me. Like you go into Barnes & Noble, for instance, you see all these books. But what's the first thing you notice when you look at a book? You're looking at the cover. So the cover, I think it's really important to catch that person's eye. To have that catchy title. I mean, there's really a lot that goes into it.
Yeah, I think that everything you're saying is dead on. And, I would advise writers to not go into Barnes & Noble. First of all, if you can get into a Barnes & Noble store and your book could sell aggressively and be ordered constantly, consider yourself extremely fortunate, because a lot of independent authors don't get that opportunity. They might get into a store. They might get the store to pick them up. They might sell a couple copies. It's not a normal everyday occurrence. It's also very intimidating. I mean, I go in there. I went in there with my granddaughter months ago, and I just was overwhelmed at the number of books that are available. And how do you start to think about where you could be positioned in that store? So instead of trying to focus in on that, which a lot of people want to, how do I get into Barnes & Noble? So how do you sell it on barnesandnoble.com? How do you sell your book on independent bookstore websites or independent stores within your town? How do you go in and create a buzz about your book, and how do you have people ask for your book in local bookstores, the independent world? And how do you sell books on Amazon? Because Amazon is, we all know it's the largest bookshop. There's so many other strategies to focus in on that don't go with strategies that get frustrating. If you're trying to get into schools and it's not happening, well, maybe you need to take a beat, shift onto a different strategy, focus in on getting some reviews and get your batteries charged again, and then figure out a different way to get into schools or school libraries or public libraries. Don't stick with those strategies that aren't working and then say, you know what, I mean, I have to give up, because that's the last thing you should do. You never know. You could be days away from somebody finding your book or seeing your book on an airplane and saying, I need to, that's an interesting book. I need to write that down. Buying your book, and they're the new business development manager at Simon & Schuster, and they're looking for authors' books that they are authors that they can sign, or the authors' books that they could purchase the rights to. Now, I know it sounds Pollyanna, but for the most part, again, getting back to the comment of don't give up, stay in the game. You never know when good things are going to happen. Stay in your lane as well. And when you get to something, a strategy that works, master it and own it, and continue to work that, because that, that's where your endorphins come from, and that's where that keeps you motivated to keep on going and keep on writing and believe in yourself.
That is great. Rick, have you written a book, or would you write a book about all your great tips?
I have not.
I think you should write a book.
My wife
you should write a
book. There's only room for one author in the family, but no. You know what? I like dealing directly with people. I love helping people. I love doing things like this where I could share bits of wisdom. I'm not the only person in the industry that has had success, that helps other people, that has great work ethic and great intentions and likes doing what they do. But that feeds my soul. So if I can work with people one-on-one to do that, I am going to stick with that. I never really thought of developing courses where I could teach people online how to do it, or hold, those type of events. I would do certain things, but I'll be honest, I'm extremely busy in work, and I also have a great balance in life. I've got 2 grandkids at 4 and 2. I've got, I love sports. I'm out walking all the time, so I keep a nice, healthy lifestyle, and I don't think writing a book is in my future, but you never know. I mean, you just never know. But.
With all the good advice that you gave in the show, I was thinking, wow, Rick should write a book. People have told me I should write a book, but I'm definitely not a writer. I'd rather talk.
Right.
I'd rather talk than write. Rick, I loved talking to you. You are full of great nuggets of information. And how can people connect with you to inquire about your services?
Yeah, I think the easiest way is through the stressfreebookmarketing.com website. There's a contact us form. Again, I'm on the Ingram Spark website. I'm referred to by a lot of writing groups and editors. So if you're working with somebody now and they want to refer us, that's great. But I will talk to everybody. And so if anybody has any questions, or they're beginning the process of writing, or they're looking at publishing and they're not sure where to go, or they just want to check on information that they receive from someone they love and they just want to verify it, I'd be more than glad to talk to people. But, if it's something special that we can help people with, we love to do so. And that website and my email, rick@stressfreebookmarketing.com, is also a place people can reach.
Oh, that is great. Well, I really enjoyed talking to you, Rick. You gave excellent information. I have to tell you something funny. I go to Barnes & Noble every week because my son and I go to the movies, and it's in the mall. And I'm always looking for books that authors that I've interviewed. Only one. Yeah. I only found one book of all the people. That's a few hundred people, folks, that I have, found. There was one, I just recently interviewed someone who said he was Barnes & Noble Pick of the Month back in August, but I didn't see the book in the store when I looked for it. But my station manager did see the book where she is, but that's up in Massachusetts. So you're just chock full of good information. And folks, all the information about Rick Lite, and it's spelled Lite, will be in the blog that Jeannie White writes. Jeannie is the station manager and produces the show. And I want to thank Lillian Caldwell, CEO of Pastoral Talk Radio Network, who makes this all possible. And I want to thank you, the listeners. Thanks for listening. and subscribing. And if you don't already subscribe to Chatting with Betsy, it is for free on Spotify, Spreaker, iHeart, and Amazon Music, just to name a few. And please tell your friends about the show. I'm here to help people. I have experts on. Rick Lite is an expert in his field, and I'm here to be a resource. So I want to thank you all again for listening. Appreciate it. And as I always say at the end of my show, in a world where you could be anything, please be kind and shine your light bright, because we need it now more than ever. And if you want to follow me, I'm on Facebook, Betsy E. Wurzel, W-R-Z-E-L. And that's it for today. Thank you again, Rick Lite. Learned a lot from you. Learned a lot from our conversation. And thank you for sending me your clients. And I look forward to interviewing more of your clients. Matter of fact, I have an interview this Thursday with one of your clients. Great. So thank you very much. And this is Betsy. Thank you. This is Betsy Wurzel. You're a host of Chatting with Betsy on Pastor World Talk Radio Network, a subsidiary of Global Media Network, LLC. Till we chat again, be safe, everyone. Bye-bye now.